Hey, welcome to the Takhar podcast, episode 262. And I've heard the feedback. You guys are loving the fact that I'm taking live coaching calls on the podcast. It's the new format. And now for you to actually be live with me to get your 10-minute coaching call, all you got to do is go to ftguacademy.com/call, and my team will set it up as we go live here on the podcast every Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. To my callers that are going to be calling in today, make sure that you don't have any noise and or feedback behind you. And we are going to be reaching out. I know my team's reaching out to some people, but before we even reach out, actually, we do have the first caller online. I believe it's Lauren. How you doing today, Lauren?
I'm doing great, Jeff. How are you?
I'm amazing. Just living the dream over here. Welcome to the Takhar podcast. How can I bring you some value today?
Excellent. So why don't I start with a little mini story?
Go ahead.
Question that I have for today.
Go ahead.
All right. So started in real estate here in New Brunswick with Royal LePage Atlantic about 2.5 years ago. I'm actually from Southern Ontario. So as I started here at Royal LePage Atlantic, I quickly began taking on more of a training role and a leadership role in the office. So my question to you, because you are very much doing the exact same thing, I feel like I'm sort of walking the path that you've already walked. So my question to you is, what advice would you give me as a realtor who is still selling, but I have taken on a leadership role, and I'm struggling a bit with the balance of life? That's the first part. So how can I balance that while still keeping my sales career? And how have you used your training and leadership role to better your sales?
A couple of things. Well, first and foremost, congratulations on taking on a new
Thank
leadership role. In terms of balance, I think the mindset that I have that I hope not only brings you value, but to people that are watching and listening right now, is understanding that to achieve 50-50, like in terms of a balance when it comes to your personal life and business life, I almost think it's impossible to get to that. And so my mindset around that is understanding that I'm going to be going through seasons like we are going through right now, to the change from, at the time of this recording, from summer to fall, is that at times I'm going to be at 95% focused and dialed in on my business. And
Correct.
People in my personal life, I'm married, I got 2 kids, I got parents, I got brothers. I might not be able to be at every single event, not at every single dinner, at that 5%. That's where that 5% kind of lives at. Now, I obviously never really go 100% all times at work, or I'm never really 100% dialed in on the family either. And that's just me, so this might not be right for everyone. But there's times where I actually just kind of went through it in this past summer, where I was probably at home for dinner almost every single evening, and at home on every single weekend, including the long weekends as well, for this whole past summer with my family. So I would say that it shifted to probably like 80-20, where I was not dialed into my work as much because my boys are getting a little older. I got 2 boys who are 10 and 8. They need a little bit more dad time as well, from the perspective of taking them to sports, taking them out to movies. And so I think first and foremost, Lauren, is understanding that trying to achieve the 50-50, I think it's an illusion. I don't think it exists, but don't judge yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself when you're taking the time off and giving to your personal side of your life. And then on the flip side, don't judge yourself when you're going hard and working and making sure that, you're putting in those extra hours. Because I think what happens is it's the noise from the outside, right? It's someone in your family. It's someone at your office. It's someone maybe on social saying you're working too much. You're not giving enough time to your family, or vice versa. Like, they don't know everything about you. Most people don't even know I'm married and have 2 kids because I don't show on social media, not only like videos or pictures of my kids, but I don't really document that side for the world to see. And if you do, There's also nothing wrong with that. We just chose not to. So a lot of people are like, Jazz is working all the time. Well, that's just not true. In fact, after the time of this, after this recording, I'm taking the long weekend off. I'm with my family, but nobody's going to see that on social media. So again, I can't stress enough to you, Lauren, is that don't think that you need to be at that 50-50. Just be okay with the fact that you're going to be going through the seasons. Now, that season might be more than 3 months. It might be like for 4 years, you're dialed in to the kids. And then for 5 years, you're dialed into your work because you have to give to yourself first. So for me, working, putting out content, leading my team, starting a new business with our coaching academy about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I mean, if I didn't do any of those things, I probably wouldn't be any good to my kids anyways. And not from a financial perspective only, but from the perspective of it's kind of like my oxygen. Like I need to be building. I need to be around other people that I see them grow. I need to be doing content like this, which then allows me to give more to my family because my own cup is filled. If, I got a cup of water on my table right now, the best thing to do to give to somebody else is make sure that your cup is overflowing. Because when your cup is overflowing, it's a lot easier to give to other people. And so first and foremost, in terms of balancing, don't try to get to the 50-50 and then work on your schedule. Time block, right? So if what I've always done is on a Sunday night is I put my big rocks in. I know on Friday night, I want to be home for dinner with my kids. And on Saturday, it's all daddy and husband time. Like Saturday, I'm completely off. Sunday, I come into the office for about 4 to 5 hours, which also gives me extra time really quickly in the morning to have breakfast with my family, brunch, and then I head to the office, come back home, and I do dinner again. Those are my big rocks. I also find out, okay, is there anything like major parent-teacher interview? Is there some type of science fair? Is there anything major during the week that I know I want to be at for my family? Big basketball game, soccer game. No, there's not? Okay, great. Now I put in my time in terms of the time blocking. Okay, 9 to 12 for me has always been focused and dialed in on prospecting. That's when I make my outbound calls. That's when I take a lot of calls in. Now, my schedule has shifted a little bit because I do a lot more speaking now. And so sometimes 10 o'clock in the morning, I got to go to a brokerage and do a training, or I got to go on stage and do a talk. For me, that still is prospecting. But if you can time block and make sure that everyone in your family understands that from the hours, and these are just fictitious hours, from the hours of 9 to 7, I'm going to be working. Now, within the 9 to 7, you got to break it up. As you take on a more leadership role, from what I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're still practicing in the business. So you still have to do the real estate agent stuff, prospect, the offers, showings, inspections. Here's a little secret that I came to learn and then actually implement about a decade ago, which is I always tell my clients that there's someone available for you to help you out in terms of showing a property, coming to your, answering your questions, because I do have a team, but it might not always be me, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Now, just so you understand, from the times of 7 to 9, I'm with my family. If it's urgent, give me a call. Because what happens is when you say to somebody, I'm with my family, and if it's urgent, give me a call, 99% of the time, everyone asks themselves the question like, okay, is this really urgent? Should I even bother Lauren? They tend not to bother you during those times. Within that 9 to 7, I also want you to time block when are you going to be doing the leadership stuff, right? And whatever that might mean. For me, what that means is just checking in on my team. Because as a leader now, you need to be in the care of the of others now, right? So they have to also get your time. And so for me, it's just checking in. And I simply do that by checking in with all my team members really on a daily basis. Bare minimum, I think you got to do it on a weekly basis. And it goes something like this. Hey, Bo, like, how's your past week, buddy? Great. What are you working on this week? That's it. Like, those are two little touch points, because now Bo knows I cared about what he was doing, what, like how his past week was. What are you working on this week? Did you need anything from me? I don't micromanage my crew whatsoever. So, but I'm just checking in to see if there's anywhere that I can bring them value. Your second part of your question, I did forget. Can you repeat that question?
That's okay. So I was wondering if you have been able to somehow take what you do with training and giving value, and in turn maybe increase sales by
Definitely. And it's not something that I'm going to give you necessarily that's going to be tactical, but it happens through osmosis. And what I mean by that is that when you're training other people, so for me, what's happened when I'm speaking, because I still practice as well, I still speak with my clients. I don't necessarily do all the showings and the listings like that. Someone on my team handles that. However, when you're telling someone about, for example, time blocking, like I just did right now, I was training you on time blocking. That also reminds me that I got to get better. There might be some holes in my time blocking process. When I'm training on how to generate leads, well, I got to look at myself in the mirror, because now I'm saying it out loud. You're in the business, so you still want to prospect and build a business. When you're training people through osmosis, you will get better for sure, because that's all you're talking about, right? You've immersed yourself in the language, and because you're speaking about it, and I can just, I don't think you and I have met, but I'm usually a good judge of character just by speaking to people through energy, and a call like this. I have a funny feeling that if you're telling someone to do something as you train them and lead them, if you're not doing it, at some point, you're going to look at yourself in the mirror when you're driving and be like, I really got to do that. I don't want to be called out.
100%. I definitely live that, as I'm teaching different systems within Royal LePage Atlantic. Definitely feeling that, I could do better, and then so I do. And we have not met, but I'm hoping that maybe you're headed to conference this year.
I'm not actually heading to Calgary I think you're talking about the National Sales Conference, right?
Yes.
I'm actually in Dubai. I had a brokerage reach out to me to do a 3-day workshop. So we take our training on the road as well. And so I happen to be in Dubai. I haven't been there before. Bo's really happy because that's back home for him, kind of.
Amazing.
And so the team's heading to Dubai for a week, but I've never been to New Brunswick. So I'm going to...
I was just going to say we should have you then come down here and maybe do a 3-day training for us.
I'm going to leave that to you. You know where to find me. I would love to have that set up. As I mentioned, I've never been to that part of the country, and I really want to come there. And my team, we're ready and able to come on the road and do that training for sure.
All right, you'll hear from us. Thank
Amazing.
You so much.
Thanks, Lauren. I hope it was valuable. I hope I brought you some value to the conversation. Awesome. Good luck. Take
Thanks
care.
So much.
Awesome.
Bye.
There's a theme, right, that comes up on the podcast a lot, that I'm noticing, and I know people are reaching out to me and saying the same thing. Like, Jazz, it's like 6-7 things that are kind of happening in terms of what you're usually talking about. Yeah, because those are the fundamentals in sales and the fundamentals in business. And one of the themes is you gotta schedule things. You gotta time block, because if you don't schedule it, it will never happen. That's where ideas generally die, right? In the middle, where if you don't schedule something, it just becomes one of those things. Oh, that was a great idea. If you get into the habit, and it's hard, but most things that are valuable are hard. Things that generally come easy are not that valuable, right? And so if you can get into the habit of sitting down with yourself, sitting down with your partner, sitting down with your staff members, your team on a weekly basis, and really taking a look at your schedule, you'll see that there's a lot of opportunity. Maybe you'll find out that you're double booking yourself. Maybe you're saying yes too much. And I come from the ilk of especially when you're starting out as a beginner in that 0 to like 3 to 4 year kind of range. You got to say yes to everything. I get that, because you got to bring in the money. You got to bring in the groceries. However, can you find ways that you can maybe delegate things, right? So if you're finding that you're double booking yourself, well, that's a good problem, in all honesty, because that means you're in demand, and you're probably generating enough leads. You're generating enough business. But we have to fix the next hole now, the fact that you can't be at 2 places at the same time, right? And so what can you do? Well, maybe we can start to build out some delegation through technology. It could be through hiring virtual assistants. It could be hiring like real life people. There's a lot of options that can happen when you do that. I know we got our next caller. I believe it's Amin. How you doing today, Amin?
Great, Jess. How are you?
Amazing, my man. It's Friday. I woke up today. I have nothing to really complain about. And if I did, I don't really think anybody cares. But talk to me, brother. How can I bring you value on today's episode?
So, Jess, I've been a part of Piragu Academy, just the online program. Great value that I'm getting for about $100 a month.
Awesome.
Stuff that I never knew I could implement into my business, getting me immense results.
Before you ask me the question, and I appreciate it, I really want to understand if there was one thing that you had to pick out. Maybe there's multiple, but if there was one thing that you're learning or learned, most importantly that you're now executing on, because I don't want to just give you value, and I appreciate the $100 a month, and I know my team does as well. But if you're not executing on it, it doesn't really mean much. What would the one thing be? And then I want you to go ahead and ask the question.
Okay, this is a combination of what I'm seeing on the videos and what I learned from you in person in an hour's workshop. Calling a client and just addressing them with their first name.
So just starting with Bo rather than you know what a lot of people do. Hi, is this Bo? It's I'm in calling from ABC Realty. I get it. Yep.
That's been a game changer.
Awesome. So you're just finding people are more receptive to it. They're answering. They're like hi or like what are you finding in that situation?
The guard doors go down.
Got it. Yep.
Suddenly, I'm not a sleazy salesperson, and I'm a person that they know from like some acquaintance in the past, and there's just instant rapport building and trust building.
And really quickly, Amin, and for everybody else who's watching or listening right now, it's not going to work all the time, but it's going to work majority of the time, right? And I think that's important for me to distinguish. Because a lot of people say, oh, I tried it and it didn't work. And it's like, oh, Jazz, it's not working anymore. No, it's going to work majority of the time. Just not going to work all the time. This game is about stacking the cards in our favor. But I'm going to ask your question, brother. I want to bring you value.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit more detail on two things, Jess. How do you build a business with incoming leads and not always like outbound reach? And then you talk a lot about delegation. So I've implemented a little bit of it in my business, but like when you delegate, do you always hire people to delegate? Is there a simpler way of doing it?
Perfect. So first question in terms of leads. So there's 4 ways that you can bring in leads. Okay. You can, there's a lot of ways that people might try to sell you on it, but here's like the 4 major categories of ways to bring in business. Number 1 is what is known as warm outreach, reaching out to people that already know you, like you, and trust you. Number 2 is cold outreach. So reaching out to people through cold calling, through door knocking. In our business, like you could do open houses. Okay, so that's 1 and 2. Number 3 is doing online ads. Google AdWords, Facebook ads, TikTok ads, YouTube ads, Instagram ads, right? There's and like billboards, and then there's like the garbage, the ads on the garbage and the bus shelters. Those are all and just so you know, all 4 of these things work, and all the things that I mentioned inside the 4, and I'll mention the 4th in a second, they all work. It's a matter of what you're going to be comfortable doing consistently. So for me, I always speak about the fact that for me, it's not that cold calling doesn't work. It's just I never liked it, right? Door knocking works really well. I just didn't like it. I didn't like knocking on people's doors and do it. Like I decided that I was going to focus on number 1 being warm outreach, number 3 being ads. I ran a lot of ads at the start as well. And then the 4th that came into my world about 5-6 years ago, that is social media. And call it social media, Facebook, Instagram, and all that, but even podcasting, doing webinars, like video/social media. Those are the 4 ways. So to answer your question, how do you get consistent business coming inbound? you have to work on all those four things. Because if you work on all those four things, you will consistently get business inbound. However, that takes time, right? To run ads, you need money, but you also need time to figure out which ads are working. Should you put more dollars on a video on Facebook compared to an image on Instagram? People have like an answer to that, but really to find out, you have to do it. What's the copy on the ad? Copy meaning like, what are you writing on the ad? What image are you using? What color? Who are you targeting? Like there's so many little intricacies with running ads, so it takes a little bit of time. What you could do in the meantime is go outbound. But to answer your question again, indirectly, it's those four ways. You do them consistently and you will have business that comes inbound. You got to do social media every day, brother. You got to reach out to people on a regular basis. And it doesn't necessarily need to just be with outbound phone calls like I was training you on when you came into the in-person workshop.
Yep.
And what you're noticing on online through our academy. But it's also just like putting on events and sending out emails to that warm database of yours for them to come to the event. And then maybe adding a little bit of door knocking for you could have business coming inbound, right? Like for me, it's been 2 decades I've been in this business. I'm going to say 50% of my business is inbound. Like I don't just sit and wait for the phone to ring and the emails to ding. It's nice because we get referrals, we get repeat clients, but even our repeat clients come through our outbound reach. Meaning when we're calling people to come to an event, when we're calling people to book a real estate action plan, that financial checkup from the neck up, right? They didn't even know that they wanted to maybe invest into another property. They maybe thought that there's no way that I can do it. But because we reached outbound to them, they bought in the past, but now we reached outbound, we got another deal out of it. So that's number one. Number two, in terms of delegation, I've always leaned towards, meaning most of the time, I hire people in person, like with me, okay? I have done the virtual assistant route. It didn't work well for me personally, okay? I've done it a handful of times. And one of the main reasons it didn't work for me is because there was just a difference in time zone. Then I tried people in the same time zone. Language was sometimes a little bit of a barrier. That was also an issue with virtual assistants. And you'll find great ones. You got to test out a bunch. But I think the biggest reason that the virtual stuff never worked for me is because I like to move with speed. And so when someone's with me and they're in person, I'm just able to get so much more done. And the reason for me that's important, because in business, the faster you can do things, you start the feedback loop to adjust. You find out quicker what's working and what's not working. So I don't really stay in paralysis by analysis a lot. I don't think a lot. And some might say, well, that's probably why you're not doing this well. Or yeah, great. I completely understand.
You do a lot.
Yeah, I like to do a lot and do it quickly, because then I find out, okay, that didn't work. Like that type of videos don't work. That script didn't work. That event didn't work. Because I'm doing a lot of things very quickly, I'm able to get feedback faster, and feedback really, really matters. You can do that stuff faster when you have people in person. Now, people are like, well, that might cost me a lot of money. 100% this is going to cost you money, right? But you don't need to start. Like I have 13 support staff. I didn't start with full-time with all of them. I didn't get them all at once either, right? This is over like a decade, I believe, right? Maybe 12 years or something, where here's a recommendation. Start with somebody, right? Mm-hmm. That is with you 3 days a week, 4 hours a day. That's 12 hours in a week you just got back. But here's the most important thing. When you take it out to a month, you got 50 hours back. That's a full week of work for the average person at 8 hours a day that you just got back of your own time. So
you're cloning yourself.
You're cloning yourself step by step, right? So at 12 hours a week, easy math, let's just do $20 an hour. I think right now at the time of this recording in our country, really right across North America, $20 an hour, you'll get a good like somebody who wants to put the work in. You're not paying the minimum wage here in this province anyways. You're paying them more than minimum wage, all right? You don't have to start at $50 an hour. At $20 an hour, at 12 hours a week, we're talking about $240 for the week, okay? Like, that's not a lot of money. You and I, brother, you and I, if we go to a restaurant and we're going to stay, not even for dinner, let's just say we're going to go for lunch, but it's a warm day. We have a couple of beers. We get some, nachos, and we get some burgers. I mean, we're going to spend $150.
$100 easy.
Taxes and tip, we're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. And so $240 for the week to get 12 hours back of your time that now you can spend on bringing in more business. See, as a business owner, salesperson, real estate agent, mortgage broker, whatever it is, your number one job, you have other jobs and things that need to get done. But the number one job is to bring in business. That's it. Because if you're not bringing in business, you're going to be out of business. It's just pretty simple. It's not even a play on words. I'm not trying to be funny. Like, your number one job is to bring in business. Otherwise, you're going to be out of business. So majority of your time should be spent on that. Now, the other stuff that needs to get done, what I would highly recommend you do, this is what we do with people that are like more in-person training with us, but there's a lot of access that you have through the academy on the virtual side as well, brother, where we speak about delegation and scaling a team. That's kind of where you want to get to in terms of videos and resources online with us. Here's how this works. I want you to write down everything that you do on a weekly basis. Okay, from a business perspective, calling people, setting up showings, putting up for sale signs, putting up lock boxes, calling the stager, calling the photographer, doing the virtual tour, sending the virtual tour to, uploading it on MLS, all that, everything listed. Then I want you to circle, okay, all the stuff that you don't like doing and stuff that someone else can do. Like, you can't possibly be the best MLS printer in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't be the best at booking a showing for a property that you're going to show a client. Anybody can do that, okay? In fact, you can do that online now, right?
Yeah.
All those things, either you don't like to do or somebody else can do it. Because the one or two things that somebody else can't do, I can tell you what they are right off the top of like my dome, which is nobody can really be calling on your behalf at the start. You got to be calling people, and nobody can be doing the social media because it needs to be your face and your voice. Those are two things right off the bat you can't delegate. You can delegate the editing at some point. You can't delegate the shooting of it because the connection is going to be made with you. Majority of other stuff, could be done by someone else. And then you give that list, because you're killing a couple of birds with the same stone. Not that I'm into killing birds, but what you could do is that list that you circle now, that's your job posting. You're going to circle it, all the stuff that you don't like to do or somebody else can do. You're going to post that job on Indeed.com and LinkedIn. I would highly recommend also to make a quick video. You're getting out there on social media, selfie mode, put it up. I'm growing. Hint, what happens is once the second you say that I'm growing my business, you're also planting the seed in people's minds that are in your network. Like, oh, wow, I'm getting busier. Like, wow, oh my God, he's doing, and you're not saying, hey, I won an award, or look how what house I just listed or which house I just sold. You're saying I'm growing my business and I'm in the need of some help. And what I'm looking for is somebody who can work 12 hours in a week. It's about, 4 hours every 3 days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm just making up some days and times. If you know of anyone, or maybe you're interested, you're saying this on the video, please send me a message. So now you put it out on social, you put it out on Indeed, you put it out on LinkedIn. At least you're getting the word out. You've also now posted it on these hiring sites. You will get people who reach out to you. I guarantee you. Might not be the right people right off the bat, but I guarantee you that you will have people who reach out to you, because right now, people are looking for jobs. And at 12 hours a week, you might be like, people are looking for a second job. People are looking for part-time job. It's hard out there right now. So they're looking to make some extra cash, right? And the work that you're going to be putting them through, as long as they can call someone, not sell them anything, you just want to make sure that they're good people. So I base all my hires, if you're going to go the in-person route, then what I would highly recommend is they need to obviously have some basic skills. Like, do you know how to turn on a computer and type? Do you know how to make some phone calls? If they know how to edit stuff, and I mean, those are just bonuses. But I'm basing my hiring on an attitude, because see, the skill can always be taught, and or it's generally out there anyways. Like, people have some of these basic skills. Attitude, though, you can't teach attitude. You can, take somebody who's maybe a 6 out of 10 on attitude from a positive perspective and take them to an 8. I don't have the time, patience, to take somebody from a 0 to a 10 from a staffing perspective. It just
That's
takes
a full-time job in itself.
It's a full-time job on itself, man. And so attitude, and how do you determine attitude? You're just going to feel it. You know what I mean? You're going to make a call. You're going to make the wrong call at times as well, which I have, because people will fool you. Like, they'll come in. Obviously, they're going to bring their best foot forward when you're hiring them. They should anyways at the interview process, Zoom or in person. But then when they come sit with you for 3 months, 4 months, you start to really see who they are, and you got to let go people. That's just how it is, right? Like, however, with that said, I would highly recommend that you go down the part-time route. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay,
I
man.
thought it was going to be way more expensive, but when you break down the numbers,
Look, like at the 200, now when you break it out to monthly, I know it starts to get a little bit more expensive, but you're talking about $1,200 at the end of the month, right? So
compare it to even one successful sale in Toronto, the numbers make a lot of sense.
Well, how about this? How about you just do one extra rental?
Yeah.
You know, like, you do one extra rental that person will do for you, essentially, other than actually doing the paperwork. How? Well, they'll just post a bunch of rentals for you, because now I'm talking from a monthly perspective. So now we got 48 hours. It's not the 12 hours a week. At 48 hours, they can now actually post some listings on Facebook, on Kijiji, on wherever, like just rentals. You know what I mean? Just post a bunch of rentals that they're posting. Any of the inquiries that come in, they handle the inquiries. You will, if you have out of that 48 hours, them spending, call it 3 hours, 4 max, but call it 3 hours in a month on posting rentals, you will do a rental that pays for their salary. So they're essentially paying for themselves.
Yeah.
Right? The job would really is to exactly get you the extra deal. But let's just say you do 2 extra rentals a month. Now you can have them for 100 hours in a month, right? And now they're putting in not 4 hours on the rentals, they're putting in 8 hours, but it's 8 hours out of 100 hours in a month. So you can really, that's scaling now, right? And they're paying for themselves. It's a no-brainer. I mean, there's just no possible way. It's not even where I'm at now. I would never have gotten where I'm at without making the investment into hiring people. And here's what I'll leave you with, Amin, and this is really for everyone else at large, is that the hardest thing to face when it comes to building out a team is the owner, the business person, you, me, leaving money on the table. That's the toughest thing, because it's like, ugh, I could just do this myself and keep the $1,200 a month. Then I can go get a better car with the $1,200 a month. You get what I'm saying? But what they're not seeing is that, no, well, that person can help you make an extra $12,000 a month. And then that turns into an extra $120,000 a month. And then the numbers just get bigger and bigger and bigger over time. But you got to start with leaving money on the table. And that usually happens when you just shut out all the noise and not care about other people's opinions about the stuff that you have or don't have. All right?
Makes a lot of sense. Thanks so much, Jeff.
As usual, I hope I brought some value, brother. Thank you.
A lot, as usual.
Amazing. I love that. Awesome. Okay, so we were supposed to be having another call in come in. I think we're just having some technical difficulties there. I wanted to continue to speak about something that's been really on my mind through social media, which is a lot of people are just not comfortable with asking. I want you, as a real estate agent, as a mortgage broker, loan officer, okay? I want you to get comfortable with asking. What do I mean by that? Well, if you are going to a restaurant, if you are at a bar, if you are going on a trip, start the habit of getting comfortable with asking. Ask for the best seat in the house of the restaurant. Ask for, a date at the bar. Ask to get maybe upgraded on a flight. Why? Because I need you to start working that muscle more, because when you're in business, you have to be comfortable, and it needs to become second nature. Now, it's going to take some time, but it needs to start to become second nature, where you're comfortable with just asking for not necessarily the business, meaning, hey, like, would you buy, sell, or invest with me? But even asking simply, can you follow me on social to give me some of your feedback on some of the content that I'm doing? Are you comfortable with maybe giving me your feedback on marketing that I'm doing through email? And you have to be comfortable with asking that of someone in your phone, like your uncle, your aunt, old high school friend, and or the barista at Starbucks, your Uber driver. You got to be okay with asking somebody that you just met at a store. Maybe you walked into Levi's and the salesperson there was helping you with a pair of jeans. You got to get comfortable with asking people to get connected with you, because we are in the people business. Make no mistake about it, guys and gals. This is a contact sport. The more people that you meet, the more chance you have of doing business with them. But if you're not comfortable with meeting people, I got to be honest with you, you might want to second guess if you should be in this business. But I'm hoping I'm speaking to people that are past the fact of if I should be in this business. Now you got to get the skill of being comfortable with asking. I want you to be an asshole. I hope you caught that. I want you to be an asshole. I want you to just ask for stuff. Ask for the discount. You're at the car dealership, ask for the discount. They might say no. But here's what I want to leave you with for the week is that the reason most people are not comfortable asking is because they feel like they got rejected. But that's that's a false narrative in your own head. And let me explain. Because, see, your life didn't get any worse. I get it. Didn't get any better because you asked for the upgrade on the flight and they said no. So you didn't get the upgrade. But you never had the upgrade before you asked. You asked the girl for a date. She said no. You didn't have the date before you asked. So your life actually didn't get worse. See, when you can wrap your head around the fact that your life didn't get worse when somebody says no, you start getting comfortable asking for more things. And then a funny thing happens. It's a numbers game. You ask for more things, you start to see that you get yeses more often. It might be only at a ratio of 1 to 10, but out of 20 times now you got 2 things. Out of 30 times you ask, you got 3 things. And it goes on and on and on. So if there's something I want you to pick up on this week, it's become an asshole and ask for more things. Have yourself the best week ever. I'll see you in episode 262.